So one amazing thing that happened here at Boots Off too is there's a young boy that's staying here with his mom, and he made bracelets for all the hikers to wear, and just put a basket out and donated them to us. So I have one on my right arm, and I did grab a second one today just because I'm worried I don't want to lose it. I want to make sure I have one that makes it to Katahdin, and Faith has two also. So thank you so much, Coda, for making us those. We're going to treasure them and try to keep them safe, and hopefully they make it up Katahdin. So this is the beach that's right down from Boots Off. We didn't come here on our zero because we were just tired and we decided not to come to swim. We had enough to do. But look at this beautiful little beach, and there's some trees in the water. They're so cool. I'm not sure if this is, I'm assuming this is the way we go. Yeah. Well, there's more trees in the water. I'm assuming this is the high water right now, and that's why these trees are surviving. But it looks really, really cool. So basically this morning we're just walking around the outside of this beautiful lake. So it's pretty nice. I'm not sure what to expect for today. I know when I looked at the profile, over just 12 miles, we have over 3,500 of ascent and 2,500 of descent. So I don't know if that's steep. I know we're going to be heading in. We have, I think it's 42 miles to Damascus. And I know we're going to be doing some walking on basically up over a ridge line. And we'll have to be a little bit more aware of where the camping spots are, because when you're up on a ridge line like that, there's not always good stealth sites. So there's like on far out, we do have like a tent site option, I think, or shelters was in 9 miles. I think a tent site was 13, and then there's another shelter at 16. When you're leaving a hostel, it's harder to get out early. You definitely we left there, I think maybe 9:15, something like that. But we had our breakfast, tea, paid our bill, said goodbye to everybody. Got some pictures with No Rush. He's kind of iconic, and he yellow blazes up and down the trail. We're going to see him again at some other hostels up front. He's going to head towards Damascus, I think, for sure, for trail days, and then keep moving north. He does live up in Massachusetts, but he'll be moving along, I think, with the bubble up the trail to some different hostels, and he said for sure we'll see him again. I got some pictures of his tent, and now I don't know. He's got the same tent as us. Is his as big as ours? Yep. Yeah, I think his is actually this 3-person, and he's got a lot of writing on it. So I don't know if we're actually true through hikers until we write on our tent. So you never know. Faith and I might write on our tent at some point with a black permanent marker, and at least put our trail names on there maybe. So so we'll see how today goes. But this lake is beautiful. We're kind of stopping having certain expectations for ourselves, because every time we do that and then we hit the trail and it's harder or somebody has something going wrong. So we're just going to keep doing our best every day, try to get into a routine of how many hours we're hiking, and whatever we can cover, we're trying to get a set plan for timing out our breaks. We're going to go back to, now that we're on trail, trying to leave camp by 7:30, maybe a little earlier, have a morning break, reasonable short morning break, a lunch break, and an afternoon break, and then try to find camp anywhere between 5:30 and 6:30, depending on if there's stealth sites or if we have to stop at a tent site. So we're going to try to lay out a day more than miles. And then some days we might have shorter miles within that day, and other days we may have much longer miles. So that's, I think, how we're going to start looking at it and getting into that routine and have our bodies used to just, this is the timing that we do our day, and going to sleep around the same time and trying to get up around the same time. And yeah, so we'll see how that goes. The weather looks pretty good. I think there's a couple of days this week where there might be a 35 or 50% chance of rain, but nothing big is coming. So we have that going for us. And Damascus is a pretty big point to reach on the AT, and we'll be there in 42 miles. And we're going to be hitting Virginia. When does Virginia actually start? Yeah. Definitely, you'll see it on the video and you'll hear it. We'll be screaming that we actually hit Virginia. So that's the next thing that's coming up, and so that's really exciting to hit Virginia. So, and we'll see how many miles we get in today. We're gonna do probably the same timing, push to between 5:30 and 6, except for we may have to adjust things being up on the ridge line, but we'll figure that out as we go. So after you go through the bush for a couple of miles or 3 miles, whatever, we come out to this dam. It's pretty cool. That water, the color is so rich in that lake. So as usual, when you're leaving town or anything, you're always climbing. We were hearing people talk about the ridge line and it being easier terrain. And I think what they're talking about is closer to Damascus. There's something called the Damascus Marathon. So it's like, it'll be basically your first time that you feel comfortable and you can actually pull off, for the majority of us. Some people are already pulling off lots of 20s and plus 20s, but for your average person, it would probably be the first time you could maybe pull a 20. And then a lot of people will push and try to do a 26 heading into Damascus. But that's not what's going to happen normally, like on your way out. Like today was no different than any other day coming out of town. It was over 3,500, quite a bit over the 3,500, I think, over less than 12 miles. That's a big climb out. That's pretty much all we've been doing, other than the little walk around the lake. When we first left Boots Off, we've been climbing. And my back, I got a little bit frustrated. I can't take out my phone. And I know lots of people want to see the real things, but it would be like asking somebody who's in labor to take out their phone and talk about what's happening. And I can't. So I had a little bit of a meltdown. My knee was so bad, like in the beginning of the hike. And then my feet were so bad in the blisters. And out of 10, where they were their worst, my feet and my knees are down to a 2 to a 3, 2.5 to 3, I'd say. So I'm feeling a lot better in that way, but my back is now like at a 15, and I'm not sure why. So Faith and I are trying to figure out, different things. What did I change on how I'm using my pack? I am noticing that it's happening more when I am climbing. I think I'm like hunching forward and digging in with my poles, and with the way that my arm movements are, that could be doing it. And then what happens is it's a snowball effect. The more I have to use my TENS machine, the pads, and then they get all goopy and sweaty, and I have urticaria, which makes anything that touches your skin can cause irritation and rash and hives. So my right side of my back is basically one big rash and hive and sores. So then you put the TENS machine on that, it stings, it shocks. So I'm trying to stop the spasming, but yet then the TENS machines is actually stinging and shocking. So far this afternoon, after I've left it on for a while, that part's leveling out. It is feeling a little bit better. I stopped having a little hissy fit, and so I've been able to climb a bit more. But so we're thinking about just going and getting our water before the shelter. and then maybe stopping at the 9 miles at the shelter. We'll see how I am there. That is a pretty big day after, like I said, when you take your time off too in town, you're coming out, you're full of food again. You know, you're not that, sometimes you're even more tired after a 0, even though you do need the rest. You're kind of lost that momentum. And then you always have a huge climb. So like if you do ever head out here, just give yourself a little grace on the days that you're leaving town, because they're not going to be easy. They're going to be heavy. They're going to be climbing. You're going to not feel that great, and just maybe pick. There's usually either tent sites or shelter within a reasonable amount of time, even in the Smokies, everywhere they're, you know, between 7 and 9. And that's because coming out of town, it's hard. 7 and 9 is enough. And I'm thinking even over that 9, it's probably at least 3,000 feet of elevation of climbing. And then there was still a lot of downhill too. There was 25 over the 12 mile. It was going to be well over 3,500, I think, ascent, and over 2,500 descent. So over 12 miles, that's a lot. So like I said, if you do come out here, give yourself a little grace when you're heading out of towns, and maybe sometimes just plan to hit that, you know, 7 to 9 mile stopping point, and they're there for a reason. So we're about 0.8 from the shelter. We stopped at the water source that was 1.7 from the shelter, and we decided to fill up there because at the shelter, the 0.3 that you go down to the water is pretty steep. Now, I've done lots of water carries that were, you know, 0.1, 0.2, and some were really steep, and they were pretty rough. I can't picture a really steep 0.3 down to the water and back. That would be pretty rough, I think. And the comments, people in the comments on Far Out said that they'd never complain about water again because that was the worst one they've seen. So it was only 1.7. So we both filled up to our 2 liters. So we've got the 2 full liters. It says it was only 25 degrees Celsius today. It felt hotter than that. I think I sweat more than the 25 degrees worth, but so when we get to camp, we're going to eat supper that doesn't require cooking, that doesn't require water. We're just going to drink our water. Faith has an extra 1.5 liters in a bag, because tomorrow it looks like in the morning our carry will be close to 4 miles. I mean, it'll be 4 miles before we hit the next water source. So just to make sure we had enough to drink tonight and tomorrow morning, she carried an extra 1.5 liters in her bag. And then plus we both have 2 liters. So we should be able to get rehydrated tonight. I'll show you some videos of the shelter when we get there. We're trying to make our plan for Damascus, and Faith had done up a plan for Damascus, and basically we're still going to do the same plan that went from Boots Off to Damascus, except for in reverse. She was going to have it that we were going to have a 9 or 10 mile day heading in. Instead, we're doing the 9 or 10 mile day heading into for today, and then we'll do a full day heading into Damascus. We just have to make sure that we're there early enough before the stores close, because Nemo sent Faith's new sleeping bag. Her sleeping bag, the zipper is broken, so she emailed Nemo, and they're sending her the new one there, and then she's gonna send home. They told her she can just either toss or keep her old one. You have to write on it so that it can't ever be returned again. But they said she could send it home, and then when we get home from the trip, see if she can do it yourself, try to fix it thing. Maybe she'll be able to fix it. So that's what she's going to do. Nemo's a great company to deal with for that stuff. And they have a policy, like if you're having problems with your equipment, when you email them, if you're a through hiker, in the subject line, you're supposed to put urgent. So then they know to get on it because you're through hiking and this stuff can't take time, right? So far Nemo's been an amazing company to work with. And so Faith has a new sleeping bag in Damascus waiting for her. So we need to get there during store hours. That's the only thing. And then we were looking, there is a church in Damascus that you can tent there for I think $10. And the town has water spigots and bathrooms right close to the church that you can use for that. So I think that's our plan for when we get into Damascus as of right now. And hopefully it'll work out and we'll be in there by Friday. But I'll, like I said, we're getting close to that first shelter. So I'll video that once we get there. Okay, so we're at the shelter. I forget what the name of this is. I'll put something in a picture. But this shelter is actually pretty cool. There's rocks. If Daddy sees this video, he's gonna have a heart attack. Oh, I was gonna say, because I just come around and you're up on the rocks. It's not far down. So this is the view. This is the gorgeous view of the lake. I heard that it was supposed to have a good view here. And we're just gonna tuck ourselves in and set up our tent in behind this shelter. And these types of rocks, these remind us of home. It's beautiful here. Yeah, so Faith and I are gonna check, her mat has been leaking. She's gonna get one of the closed foam mats, but we're just gonna see if we can figure out what happened and why her mat is losing air since we're here early. Yeah, she's gonna send it home, but she'd like to maybe figure it out before she sends it home. And she's gonna buy one of the Nemo, the switchback closed foam ones. She wanted to try them anyway. There's one in Damascus. They're gonna hold it for us until we get there. And so then, since she's sending home her sleeping bag, she'll send home her mat, and hopefully we'll have the mat fixed anyway before she sends it home. And so she's gonna give that a try. That way she doesn't have to worry about it. Sleeping on the ground. Yeah, so she's been sleeping on the ground, and she seems to be okay with it. Yeah, so she's sleeping fine. She just uses my little tiny little, yeah, just for a little bit of warmth. And she's been using that, and she's fine. So yeah, so we're gonna set up here by this rock, right in behind the shelter, and yeah, we'll have a good night and get to bed early. And I'm gonna work on some videos maybe tonight, and then we'll see if my back will hold out, and our plan for our timing will work to get to Damascus how we have it planned out. So fingers crossed.